Hi, I'm Michael Loftus from Tianma, America. I work for the Professional Display Business Unit. We're here at Display Week, showcasing all the LCDs, the new technologies from professional industrial displays to automotive to smart to new technologies. And I'll take you around the booth right now to see all those technologies. Hi, we have Tianma's 3.4-inch cluster display. It's a round display, which is an odd-shaped display, and we can make many different shapes of displays. But what's unique about this display, it's meant for a two-wheel vehicle application, so it's meant for outdoor light, high ambient light conditions. And this one also has a physical hole drilled through the LCD and the backlight, so you can actually have the speedometer needle move around. So it's got a wide field of view, left and right, and it's meant for a high shock vibration. So normal vibration is about 10 Gs. This one can survive up to 20 Gs shock and vibe. Hi, we have Tianma's 4-inch InvisiView display, which basically allows you to have a display where you shut it off and you can't see that there's a display there. So it's basically a seamless display. You have no idea where the display starts or ends, and it's a very nice technology. It basically sees silver. It's got a wide viewing cone. And the delta E on this is 0.5%. Our competitors are around 2. And you can't tell the difference between where the viewing area starts and where the border is on the display. We have Tianma's 10.01-inch bistable display. It's a color BCN. So when you bistable is when you turn the power off, it holds the last image from the display. So it's a static display. So once the power is removed, it's great for applications like signage. We have a Tianma's 15.6-inch quantum dot. Quantum dot allows you to achieve higher NTSC color range, over 100%. What's unique about this display is that we're showing you the display and the backlight system. The backlight system is mimicking what the display is, the bright areas. By doing this, you actually reduce the power, and you also get true blacks. As you look at this display, when it goes to black, it's a real black. So it's also lower power because of the images matching. We have Tianma's 23.8-inch full high def display that's 1920 by 1080. It has a very high contrast of 1800 to 1, and it's got a great viewing cone. It's meant for the medical applications. We have Tianma's 30.9-inch TFT display. It has 12 megapixel colors. So it's red, green, blue. It's meant for medical diagnostics. So it's a large size display with 10 bits of color. Normal colors anywhere from 6 bits per color, which gives you 64,000 colors, or 8 bits, which is 16 million. But this is 10 bits per color, so you get a lot more colors. So it's important that there's no change in the grayscale from you moving left and right. So when the doctor's looking at the image, he can tell if there's something physically there or not. We have Tianma's 21.5-inch display. It's a 4K by 2K resolution. What's unique about this display is has a touch system on it. And the touch system has an embedded electromagnetic touch. And we can see here when we go to touch, the brush strokes, you can see how they're thinner. So if you're an artist, it has very, very fast response speed time for the touch. And you can see that it gets thin. There's a difference. Whereas with a normal finger touch, it would be just one thickness all the way. We have Tianma's 27-inch full high def display, 1920 by 1080. And what's unique about this display, it's a wet and glove. So if you're in an application where your fingers are damp and the touchscreen may not work, well, this application will work with gloved applications up to 2 to 5 millimeter gloves. And also if there was water to flick on this, or a gel or some type of liquid, it would not do a false activation. So we see this primarily as a kiosk application for entering food orders or a gas station pump. And it's a high bright, so it's a lot of ambient light conditions. We have Tianma's 8-inch micro LED, which is about 55% transmissive. You can see through the display, but also has a wide field of view when the micro LEDs are on. And it's an octagonal shape, which is an odd shape. So we can do odd shape to size micro LEDs. We also have a flexible display. This flexible display allows it to stand up straight. And we also put a living hinge on this display so it can shape towards the curve of the wherever it's going against within a certain radius length. So I'm going to press the button here, and you can see that the display is folding back, and we can press it again for applications. Then we have our display down here, which is also a micro LED with transmissive display. It's just the square shape versus the octagonal shape. Then we have a slidable display. So if we were to press a button on the display, it could pop up out of the dash, and you'd now have another display to look at. And then you could press the button again, it can roll down. So it's a slidable display. We have Tianma's 4.97-inch LCD, which is a light field display, which is basically an LCD display, which is reflected back, which gives you a wider depth range of field. And it's also targeted at the rear seat entertainment application for automotive. All of the automotive displays we talk about have a very wide temperature range, anywhere from -30 to 80 degrees C for operation, and -40 to 80 or 90 degrees for storage. We have Tianma's 6.9-inch active matrix organic LED, which is a slidable display. This is a 6.9. So basically, this here is rolling up at around a radius of 4.5 millimeter radius, and you can slide it up so it becomes much larger. We have Tianma's 9.94-inch hybrid TFT display technology. What makes this a hybrid? It has a low temperature polysilicon and an oxide. So basically, the low temperature polysilicon gives all the connections internally to the oxide, and the oxide has a very fast speed. And this is a foldable. It has a trifold on this panel. We have Tianma's 7.92-inch active matrix OLED display. This is a foldable display. You can see here it's bending, and it's got a new pixel shape, which is a patent technology from Tianma. It's a windmill pixel shape. We have Tianma's 6.7-inch organic LED displays. What's unique about these two smartphone applications, they're basically the same exact display. When you want to save some power or increase the brightness, we have a micro lens padding on this. So basically forces the light up so it becomes much brighter. Or you could basically force the light up and reduce the nits, and it'll be saving some power. So we're trying to show here some power savings at the same brightness. We have Tianma's 6.78 wide refresh rate on this display. It basically takes a normal display and it uses an oxide technology where you could have a low refresh rate here, and in a little box you could actually have a higher refresh rate for video, so you can actually have some power savings. So it's a variable box that you could have on this display to increase performance and also low power. We have Tianma's 6.56-inch smartphone application. What's unique about this is it has an embedded ambient light sensor. The ambient light sensor has the ability to go from 0 to 30,000 lux. What's also nice about this one, it also is great in low-level light conditions. It can measure the light increments of 1 lux between 0 and 50 lux. So on a low-level light, you can basically crank up the backlight. So also an opportunity to save power. Where other competitors basically would put a embedded, they won't have the ability to put an embedded ambient light sensor. We have Tianma's 6.7-inch low temperature polysilicon displays. These are the same identical displays. What's unique about this is we changed the cell structure. This display is capable of 1,000 nits now because it has a wider aperture ratio of and this one has 600 nits brightness. So it's much higher brightness because we changed the cell structure. We have our 1.2-inch rigid display. It's a round shaped display, and it has a 1,000,000 to 1 contrast ratio. And it has a touch, and you could do 2-finger touch on this. And it's rigid because it has the LCD below, and it actually has a touch cover lens on this. We have another 1.2-inch active matrix organic LED touchscreen. What's unique about this versus the other one, the rigid one that you saw earlier, this has got one layer of organic LED, and we put an encapsulator over it. So it has a 1,000,000 to 1 contrast. So this is much thinner. We have Tianma's 1.5-inch active matrix display. What's nice about this display versus the one cell or the rigid display is that it's a flexible display, so it can contour to your skin. And I also forgot to mention on the other displays, we have a micro lens pattern. What that micro lens pattern allows you to get is a big boost in the light output. So for like a 300 nit display on there, it would actually bump it up to 1,200. On this one here, it'll go from 600 nits of brightness to 1,000 nit of brightness. We have Tianma's 10.99-inch display. And what we're trying to show here is that at different frequencies, you have a different power saving. So we can go down to 15 hertz, which is typically we'd start seeing flicker. As you notice with this display, there is no flicker. We can go all the way up to 120 hertz. There's about a ratio of 3 to 1. So we have our 16-inch display. It has a variable refresh rate. What's important about this is typically when you're sitting at your computer and it's running, most of the time it's running a static image. We can lower the refresh rate to save some power on the LCD. But when you start getting into applications where this might be some video, we can increase the video rate up to 120 hertz. So this has a variable refresh rate on this display. Here we have Tianma's new 14-inch display, very narrow border on this. It's coming off our new generation fab, and with this, it is a metal oxide technology, which allows you to have a faster refresh rate. We're up at 300 hertz now, so this is great for a gaming application. It's a beautiful display, high refresh rate and high contrast, and a really great field of view. Hi, we have Tianma's 15.6-inch full high def display, which is actually in a Razer notebook display. It has a refresh rate of 360 hertz. And the nice thing about this, when it's in a gaming app, for the gaming applications, it also has a very quick response speed time between each level of gray. It's 3 milliseconds between one level of gray to the next level of gray. Hi, we have Tianma's 14-inch flip cell LCD. What is unique about this display is with the flip cell, we can actually have very, very fine borders where you have a border technology of its dimension of 1.4 millimeters around. That's what gives you great edge-to-edge coverage. We have Tianma's 14-inch high-res display, which is a ability for switchable privacy modes. You have a privacy mode and you have a public mode. Privacy mode will shrink the field of view. Public mode will allow it to have a wider field of view. We have Tianma's 10.1-inch Paperlight display. If you can notice the difference between these two displays, there's a glare on this one. We basically have a non-glare here, an anti-glare coating on this, which basically allows you to have the ability to sit there for a long period of time without having big eye strain on this display. And you can see that it has a touch screen on it as well. Here we have two 12.45-inch displays. The difference between these displays are one has a wider field of view and one also has a higher reflectance. So you have a wider field of view, easier to see this display because there's anti-glare on this display. And it's really good to sit down and just read off of something like this with no eye strain. We have Tianma's 4.7-inch display here, which is allowing you to have a reconfigurable surface for satellite images where there may be a building blocking it. You can redirect the signal around that. We have Tianma's 2-inch microfluid display. This display allows you to have multiple test points where you could drop a microfluid into the device and allow those to propagate through the display and cause a reaction between the two microfluids. So this acts as like a test strip. And you can see the microfluid moving around on the unit. See how it's like crawling like a worm? We have Tianma's 7.6-inch micro LED display. It's a display. It's a whole heads-up display unit. Basically, we're taking a small, thin display, reflecting it, and projecting it back on to the surface. So you get a heads-up display. So we have Tianma's 1.63-inch micro LED. What's unique about this display is it has a pixel pitch of 403 pixels per inch. So it's the best in the industry. So we have Tianma's 6.7-inch microfluid displays. Basically, it's like an e-paper display. We have a mono version here, and we also have a color version. We have Tianma's 12.5-inch 4K by 2K resolution display. What's unique about this display, it's a 2D display and also a 3D display as well. And we have here on top is a camera which will do tracking. If I was to move, this display would actually move and follow my motion. And as I rotate, it also gives me a better field of view in 3D. So you have Tianma's 12.3-inch quantum dot. It uses a blue LED. The LEDs are embedded on a piece of glass. It's also mirroring the image that's shown on here. So what we basically have is a display with an intelligent backlight system. And the nice thing about this display, it helps reduce power because we partition the way the backlight is. So the light areas get highlighted and the dark areas will shut off so you get true blacks. We have Tianma's 15.6-inch display here that does 1,000 nits of brightness. We also have the boost technology, which will bring it up to almost 2,000 nits. It has high contrast of 1,000,000:1. It's a great display. It has a wide operating temperature, -40 to 85 degrees C as an automotive display. We have our 12.3-inch portrait-style display, which is a seamless display. You cannot tell where the display starts or ends. And as this one here, if you were to touch it, it would have a tactile feel. And we could basically make it look like a brushed metal or a wood grain feel. This is also the seamless technology or a plastic type of feel. So this is our IntelliView system. We have our 12.3-inch display. It uses the rain technology. Basically, for the new technology, the new requirements of the government will require that the driver will not be able to see the display. So it basically puts a privacy mode for the driver, whereas the passenger could see the rest of the display. And you can also have a mode where you could shut it off and it still have an image left up on the screen. We have our 15.6-inch haptic touchscreen. Basically, what this panel will do, it has a sensation when you would touch it, it would have some feedback. It also makes an audible sound that you may or may not be able to hear right now, but as I press on it, there's a weak force, and if I was to press on it, I would get a much feel. So you get instant feedback. It causes a vibration back to the finger. We have Tianma's 12.3-inch oxide display, which has a touch-enabled display, so we can move this around. It has a very high contrast ratio of 1,500 to 1, and it has an operating temperature of -30 to 85 C, a storage temperature of -40 to 95 C. Great application from automotive. Here we have Tianma's 11.6-inch display. What's unique about this display, it has embedded sensors in there. We have a far infrared sensor, which is a 2D array. So it'll actually measure your skin tone, temperature, and it'll turn on the HVAC. And we also have a near infrared, which will measure the temperature in the cockpit and help with the management of the HVAC.